Okay, so hi everyone. We do not have a group today at home because I have a little bit of a flu, but as you see, Bob is perfectly fine, so please interact with us online. We'll do it just the old way, old lockdown that way, and see how it goes.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
It's still the same old. Non-dual, one without a second, pure intelligence energy, God if you like to call it that, or whatever other label you like to put on it, the one essence that patterns, shapes and forms, expresses and appears as the cosmos and everything in it. And you are that. Everything is that. That's what non-duality is, one without a second, not two. Nothing, no thing other than the one. And if it is the one, the animation that's going on in that pattern, body, mind you call you, is just another expression of it. But we've lost sight of it, most of us, because our parents didn't point it out to us when we first learned words. And so we went on acquiring words, concepts, ideas and images, and believe ourselves to be this separate entity, this individual, this person, when some of the great texts will point out it is inseparable. It's not dividable, it's indivisible. And what does it say about it then, if you understood that? When you say what you already know, it's already that. That is the great mantra. And you know that already. Because that's the chair you're sitting in, that's the space that's in the room, that's the space itself, that's the tree, the flower, the room, the stars, the planets, everything is the content of that space. Space is emptiness. And they call it in Buddhism a cognizing emptiness. Emptiness has the capacity of cognizing, or it is vibrating. Just a movement, a somewhat of a movement. Not even a full movement. If it's a full movement, it'll have a beginning and an end. But it's just like a throb or a pulsation. As it's beginning, it's ending. So it's not time-bound. It doesn't have any beginning. It doesn't have any ending. Like space, it doesn't have any centre. Try and find a centre to space. Try and find a boundary, a circumference, a shape, a form to space. Space is everywhere. Every when, every how, every why. Or what for? And if that is all there is, that's basically what you and I are, is that space-like awareness. And when you investigate, it's quite easy to see that. And that's the thing that they point out in these things. that you need to investigate. The false cannot stand up to investigation. We've taken many false ideas, concepts and images about ourselves. I am this person, I am this individual, I am this separate entity, I am unhappy, I'm fearful, I'm anxious. All these concepts are put on to that sense of presence which translates through the mind as the thought, I am. Now realise that that's all I am is. It is a thought. Thought, what's thought? Thought's sound. Sound becomes word. What's word or sound? It's a vibration. And the vibration is movement of energy. So, it's all vibrating into all these patterns, shapes and forms, and there is nothing static in any of it. It's all transient. You might think we are transient, but there are thousands of souls dying in this body right now and being replaced. And every cell is suffused with that intelligence energy. It's a knowing cell. Because a skin cell will not replace a liver cell. A liver cell won't replace a heart cell. Each cell knows what to do. It's suffused with that life essence or intelligence energy, which is not only suffusing the cells and the patterns and shapes and forms that are in this body, it's functioning its whole manifestation. It's the earth rolling around the sun, the seasons coming and going, the tides coming in and out, the volcanoes, the tsunamis, everything that's forming this manifestation, in this manifestation, are all things. And you and I are things, the same as everything else. But the space itself is no thing. As I say, there's no boundaries, no circumference. And all these things are the content of space. Can you postulate or think of anything outside of space? It'd have to be in something. And the only thing it could be in is space. Even if you've got some concept of some, or idea of something else, and say it's this or that, what would that be in? You realise it'd have to be in space, because there's nothing that can be outside of space. Space is aware, or knowing. It's being, it's knowing, loving to be, it's awareness itself. And that consciousness is the first thing that appears in that awareness. Are you unaware right now? No. You are aware. That awareness is the life, the movement, the activity. I don't use the term God because it can get confused with that term. Because every tradition has a different idea or concept about what God is. In the words we've learnt, we've set it up as a higher power, as the only power. What?
Don't talk to me. Go on.
It's the only power there is. And tells you that. Tells you that in the Bible. It says, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God. The Word was God. All things were made by Him. There was nothing made that was made. So there it is. God is a Word. When we try to describe it, we put the word on it. But it is the ultimate awareness, the pure intelligence energy that patterns, shapes and forms, expresses, it appears in everything. We put the label on it and think it is something greater than what we are. But it is only the non-dual one essence, which I use the term intelligence energy, that's functioning, patterning, shaping and forming this manifestation. That is all there is. Only that. And that's what they tell you again. The great mantra is I am that. That is what I am. And that you know innately. You know that everything is that because that is the chair you're sitting in. You say, that's the chair. That's the room the chair's in. That's the space in the room. That's the tree. That's the flower. Everything is that which we put the words on, the label. But it's nothing other than that. And we don't see it as that. All these words which we've learnt or picked up, and we put the words on these things and label them with the words, and we've separated them, the inseparable with the word, when it's all the one essence, appearing as many. When we are born, we say we are this person, which is a word, a label we put on ourselves, which comes from the ancient Latin persona, the mask. And we've learnt many words. There are many different languages which express as words, which I say are nothing but sounds, vibration, a movement of energy, or that. Only that. And have a look. The word's not the real. Take the word water. Can you drink the word? Can you swim in the word? Can you drown in the word? Can you wash in the word? Does the word fire burn your mouth? Can you cook with it? Can you heat yourself with it? So you recognise the word's not the thing. And they call it in Hinduism Satchitananda, Satchitananda Nama Rupa. Sat is existence, Chit is consciousness, Ananda is loving to be, Nama, Rupa, name and form, they say is Maya. Maya is illusion. So all the names and forms, the labels we put on all these things are illusionary. Definition of, they call it a phenomenal manifestation. And the definition of phenomena is that which appears to be. So all this manifestation and its appearance is Maya. It's illusion. That's including you and me, these bodies we are expressing through. But when you recognise, investigate and say, are you the body? Are you the mind? And you realise when you say my body, my mind, it's not you. Somebody, it's me or my, the conceptual image, that's claiming the body is my body. But if it's not a concept or a word, what is that body? It's like every other expression or manifest thing. It is a vibration, a movement of energy. And we put these words on it to call it movement of energy. As words we've labelled it, taken it away from it. It's pure being, knowing, loving to be, not unaware. Are you or I unaware? I'm not unaware. Are you? And you know you're not unaware. You are the life itself. That stopped, is it?
Yeah.
You are the life itself. And out of life, more life comes. And that's what Christ told you. I am the way. I am the truth. I am the life. People thought he was talking about himself as the person he wasn't. He was talking about the pattern, shape and form that's expressing is the life itself. And it's the same life that's in you and me and everything else. All the sentient things. So you are that life. And then from that you must realise that there is only life. Life is all there is. But there is no body or no mind that lives a life. Life lives on life, and out of life more life comes. You are not the mind either. Look at the mind, and you say, my mind. Who is the me that's claiming the mind? You realise the me is only this conceptual image you have about the self. The person is the me. Because the person is mouthing the word persona, comes from persona, the mask. And the person is not reality. It's the pattern, shape and form that's appearing as this seeming entity. these bodies, these minds, these things, all appearing in the screen. What I call the screen is the basic space, which has no centre, no circumference, no beginning, no end, no boundaries. Everything is the content of space. And realise that the tree's a thing, the flower's a thing, the houses a thing, the mountain's a thing, you're a thing, I'm a thing. All this manifestation are things. Now, can something come from nothing? Space is no thing. It has no centre or no boundary. So it is no thing, no shape or form. Can something come from nothing? You realise it can't. So all these things you realise that are appearing in this space, that's all that they are, as appearance also. So you are not this pattern, this body-mind that suffers, that's fearful, that's anxious, that's depressed, that's unhappy, that's jealous and envious, guilty and not guilty, whatever these concepts we've learnt and the sensations that go were formed with the thinking process, and beat ourselves up with the word. It's not so. And you recognise it for what it is, what will you be free of? You can only be free of the belief that these things, because that's all it is. We've taken these things when we've seen them and learnt the words about them to be real without investigating and seeing. And the energy of belief has gone into them and making them seem real. And we've been caught up into that bondage of belief. But look up the word belief. See the definition. The definition of belief is an unquestioned acceptance of something in the absence of reason. Acceptance of an alleged fact without positive knowledge or proof. So wouldn't it be wise to put your belief to that test? And if all this suffering is going on and you're not too happy about it and you don't want to be miserable all your life and you're told there is a way out, wouldn't you be keen to try and find it, to look for it? But some of the teachings teach a wrong way of looking at it, investigating it, and keeping us bound in it. But there's a lot of truth when you read the right and understand the right scriptures, or recognise it from someone who's pointing to it directly and straightforwardly, without trying to make the separate entity get something and become something, which when you look at it and realise that that is all there is. When you go back to the thatness, there is only that. And I am that. Thou art that. This is that. Everything is that, which I pointed out earlier. So that needs to recognise itself. It doesn't have to try to become that. For in trying to become that is the very thing that keeps it away from recognizing itself. It's a cognizing emptiness, they tell us in the scriptures. We think we need to cognize and know this emptiness, but they don't mean that. They mean that the emptiness is suffused with that cognizing or knowing, a vibration, a movement of energy. And they make the statement that emptiness is form. It's that very cognizing or vibrating that patterns, shapes and forms this emptiness into a pattern, into a shape, into a form. And the form is nothing other than the emptiness. So emptiness is form, form is nothing but the emptiness. So we need to recognize these patterns and see from what they are. They are the absolute, because that's all there is. They are the great perfection. They are the only, the one essence of patterning, shaping, forming, experiencing and everything. And you must and can only be that if you have a look and recognize it. And as that, a lot of these erroneous beliefs will be seen through. And if they're seen through and recognised for what they are, they can no longer be binding on you. And then you, as that saying I said before, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. In that freedom there is a peace. There is a joyousness in it. There is a sense of well-being, a sense of nothing wrong anymore. So that's what needs to be recognised, grasped and understood. And it's up to you to investigate, have a look, question. Are you this body? What's this body made up of? Made up of elements, air, earth, fire, water, space. Well, separate the elements. Take the air out of your body. Won't last long. Take the fire, the body temperature. You get hypothermia and die. Take the water, stop drinking water. You die of thirst. Get off the earth or out of space. So you realise you can't separate yourself from those elements. And those elements can be broken down into subatomic particles. Pure energy. Take the mind. Are you the mind? And innately you know you're not the mind. You say my mind like you say my body. Well, show me your mind if you think of the mind when you investigate it. Is there such a thing as mind? What's mind after all? It's a word. It's a sound. It's a concept. It's a vibration. The same as the body is a vibration. The words are a vibration. All this manifestation is a vibration. All vibrating, patterning, shaping, forming spontaneously, ever fresh, any new, ever new, because you look at the concept of time and you recognise that. It won't stand up to the investigation. Just a mental concept, a vibration. Is there a past if you don't think about it? If you think there's a past, try and live yesterday. Try and live last week or a moment ago. You might be able to recall some of it, but you can't go back and live it. It all boils down to one thing, and one thing only, that there is the animating intelligence energy or life, patterning, vibrating, expressing as everything. That is timeless, it's spontaneous, has no boundaries, no centre, no circumference, no beginning and no end. It is eternal, beginningless and endless, bodiless, mindless, timeless, spaceless. It is all there is. And if that is all there is, don't hesitate to claim it. You are it. I am that. Claim it. You've been in the conceptual image too long as it is. That's what I point to, that's what I talk about. Got any questions? Ask them. We've got each one of you that's listened to it before, got a good understanding of it. Well, let it out, tell us about it. Somebody else might resonate with the way you're saying it. And if you've got doubts, bring the questions up, don't hesitate to ask. But the thing is, get into it. Cap's got some questions there, I think.
Yeah, there's just one question just came now. We have 22 people with us watching, and that's a question from Tanya. I found out on Monday night my dad has cancer, so I watched last week's meeting a couple of times. Thought said it was hard to accept there is no one to die, as there is a big attachment to the form called dad, but what he really is cannot die. And actually he seems happy enough. He's not suffering mentally over the diagnosis, which has helped looking at this in the light of truth, and seeing death is not so scary. Thank you, Bob and Kat. And Tanya also says, the non-accepting thought passed as it was naturally not fixated on thanks to investigation. Can you say something?
Which Tanya is that?
That's Tanya from New Zealand.
Yeah, that's right. It's when the animation of life leaves the body, well, there's still other forms of life utilising the body then, like the microbes and things like that break it down and rot it. But the life intelligence energy, that goes back into where it came, into the screen, into the basic space. Where else could it go? And that's where the body, when it breaks down, it'll go back into the space too. So life lives on life. So naturally there'll be a sense of loss there. But when you recognise that nothing is ever lost, nothing can be added to it or taken away from. The pattern, shapes and forms are constantly changing, but the life essence will continue to express. Like the water the rain goes back, comes from the ocean when it's soaked up, and when it comes down as rain, or the river, it falls back into the ocean again. But you'll never get the same drop of water out of it. So, as it says in that thing, it's a good thing when people, what do they call it when they put on a death notice? Loving forms be wise and dry straight away. Every weeping eye, what you see upon the bier, is not worth a single tear. 'Tis a simple seashell out of which the pearl has gone. The shell is nothing. Leave it there, it'll rot and break down. the pearl, the essence, the all, is here. It's still here right now. You and I and everything else are that essence. It's birthless, it's deathless, it's timeless, it's spaceless. It's bodiless, it's mindless. It's beyond the wheres, the whens, the whys and the hows. Recognise it and stay with that recognition. And then realise that all those that have gone before you and those that will come after, it'll be the same for them. And if there's an understanding, a good understanding there, there'll be less chance of any of the suffering to go on in it. It will lead, the life that it expresses will be much more pleasant and happier and naturally.
Yeah, good point. There might be so-called time for grieving, but it is definitely not now. Now is time to celebrate life and to accept and appreciate that you have been given some sort of a notice, which gives you an upper hand in the situation with comparing with people who do not have it, which is experience accidents and things like this, and they have to get on with life without that pattern they got used to. And of course, getting used to is a bad word, but that's what really what attachment is. Underlying it is love, but attachment is formed even when there is no love, although everything is love anyway. So, we got Maureen from America. Welcome, Maureen. She managed to join. Dearest Bob and Kat, what a pure joy to be amongst this loving presence. Love and thank you, Bob and all. Yeah, welcome.
Thank you for your contribution too, Maureen. It's good.
And Peter says hi to Maureen. And Amarnath, best opportunity to investigate the investigator. Sorry to listen. Everything is pattern chain of I thought. No I in in it, it's just imagination. Non-dual seen as duality. No need to judge or interpret. Isness just there, no one is there, relax. Already you got it.
Thank you, Emma.
Yes, and Amarnath also says no one is accepting or non-accepting. No one is doing anything. Things just happened. This idea of agency is completely redundant. No one is breathing, no one is thinking. It's just the wrong assumption that there is someone doing things. It's an assumption that there is someone moving the clouds on the sky. There's no one doing it. Or someone is doing the rain. No, nobody's doing it. Or moving the planets, or beating the heart. No, there is no need for that assumption that there is a self, or the I, or the me that is responsible for any action. And it doesn't mean if grieving happens, it's also nobody doing it. If sadness happens, nobody doing it either. And it is another flavor that is being experienced in that field of experiencing. It also, if someone judges it that this is the wrong flavor or not the nice color and it shouldn't be there, that's also part of the happening that nobody does. And Tanya says, beautiful, Bob. The shell and the pearl analogy makes so much sense. There has been so much recognizing this week, and lots of celebrating the life I am and all its expressions. Thank you, Kat, also. And Maureen says, Dear Tanya, so often the fear and sadness comes from thinking we know what something means or is. Yet the not knowing, the mystery, holds such love and tenderness. Now Tanya answers Amarnath, it is clear no one is doing anything, everything is clear now. I wasn't asking a question, but more sharing what has been seen, but very much appreciate more clarity about this today. Yes, thank you, Tanya. That's you are really clear about that. It's nice to share though, because a lot of people will resonate. A lot of people been faced through the so-called life story through so-called time, various colorful experiences, and experiences of fear of loss is just amongst the most common. Not only a fear of loss of the loved one, but anything that the attachment builds. But the parent is particularly strong, and as I said, I totally resonate because my father is in and out of hospital for the last few years, more in and out than out. So it isn't something particularly pleasant, but it is to be appreciated. The capacity to feel, the capacity to still celebrate while they're there, and the understanding that nothing really ever happens. The one who you love, your dad, or is not going to suffer when he's not there. It's only the grief or the sadness or the feeling that presents itself in those who remain. And again, the idea that there is someone there that suffers and should stop or shouldn't, or should be free from suffering, is the wrong assumption. In the total freedom, everything is allowed. Sadness is quite beautiful to be experienced, because it is the opposite of not the opposite really, but it is what enables the opposite to exist. Like the night enables the day to exist, the pain enables pleasure to exist. So they all part of the play. Beautiful, says Amarnath. Questioner, answerer and sharer are absent. Still question, answer, sharing might happen. That's the fun. And Anthony, no wonder Bob is always so relaxed. When everything already is taken care of, what's there to think or worry about? Just does its own thing. Thanks again, guys. And Maureen says to Tanya, oh, beautiful. And JB says to Tanya, so when you say this life is the same life that is moving the planets, beating the heart, beating the body, it is only life in motion, doing anything. This is all just happening without any personal doership, an absence of persona. Thank you for such clear pointing to you both. Yes, that's a beautiful reframing. Thank you for reiterating it. Yes, it is the same life. Just like you think of let's say you think of the ocean, the vastness of water, every direction, just nice and clear and calm. And that has the capacity to move, and that movement create waves, and the waves, seemingly just the pattern of expression, they individuate. They assume the individual identity. See, this wave is different to that wave. It's taller or it's shorter or it's it has the horse white on it or not. But that's only how it appears to be. It is still all the same water, all the same ocean. So that the same pure open field of potentiality or vastness of knowing presence assumes different points. It assumes the point of one body or the point on another body, the point of a fish, the point of the star, seemingly to experience the difference from the totality. Like wave experiences almost like edges of its shape. The same way bodies experience that they end there. But it doesn't change the fact that they are all the same field vibrating into shapes and forms and patterns. And the thoughts, in the same way, they come out of the existence, they seem separate from everything, from the environment. The noise seems separate from the silence. It only seems to be. Why? Because of the air drums and because of the whole universe setting it up this way to express an experience. And Amarnath says, thanks a million, Kat, for taking pains to this meeting in spite of the flu symptoms. We pray for get well soon. Much love and gratefulness. Thank you, Amarnath. Yeah, we got few others. I'm sorry I didn't read it. Wishing me getting well soon. Thank you. The body is doing all right. It's not a drama. Important thing is that Bob doesn't get it, so that's already, I guess, too late for that to happen. So all good.
As I say, no self-respecting virus will live in me.
Yeah.
Is that the right time?
Yes. Yes, it is the right time.
10.
Yeah.
11.
Oh, sorry.
That's 10.
Okay, sorry. No more comments. You can change it.
No question?
No, not for now. No more questions for now.
Do you want to say something?
Yes, so Ram sends a little heart. And we have 27 people with us and nobody asks questions. It means everything is clear. And the simplicity of that is obvious. And that's wonderful, because that's what it really is all about. If there's no questions, there's no questioner. If there is no thinking going on, there is just a clarity, just a quiet clarity in which everything happens as it should. Even the idea of should is of course the wrong idea, but yeah, that's what we say. We use language to communicate and express. So phenomena is passing through that open field of knowing, of awareness, and none of that phenomena really matters. Just the same way as the phenomena is passing through the space of a dreaming mind, and none of that matters. There are things appearing in the dream. There are people appearing in the dream. Some people you recognize as those who live in that waking dream. But if you look closer, you know that that's just an approximation, that's just an interpretation. So all of that comes from nowhere, from nowhere, from nothing. So it really is nothing. When you think of the dream, it really is nothing. The people, the places, the situations. I've been sleeping like really long hours with that flu, so I've got an extra dreams there as well. But I did learn not to make too many assumptions in the dream, but just really just hold the witnessing presence for whatever arises. And I can't help but somehow orientate myself and see whether it is a ship or it is a port or what's my role in the dream. But all along, Sometimes knowing it is a dream, sometimes not knowing it is a dream. There is very, very little judgment towards what is appearing and passing through that open field. So living in this way, with the quiet mind, with very, very, very little judgment, and if the judgment appears, it's just part of the landscape. It is not to suggest that anything could be or should be done for anything to be different, because there is no one to do anything. So how could there be a doer altering or modifying or correcting or stopping thinking or stopping judging? Thinking happens, judging happens. It is the habitual engagement with those thought forms that creates the suffering. The fact that the clouds are moving through the sky is not a problem at all. But the fact that habitually the attention goes and chooses and isolates one cloud and follows that one cloud and write the story, oh that cloud is getting bigger, oh now it's getting smaller, oh it's getting isolated, oh that poor cloud is this and that and the other. Identification with the form causes the drama. It causes immense beauty because the stories are quite incredible. But while the beauty can still be enjoyed, the suffering associated with the seriousness of that little story is completely unnecessary. The story can be known, the story can be appreciated, but if that is not a my story, but it's just a beautiful story, just a beautiful dance, not mine, then the good ones and the bad ones, the dark nights and the light in the story is just mind-blowing beauty. It's not good or bad, it's not desirable or undesirable. Then even people who come to the dream and leave the dream, the blessing of meeting someone, the tragedy of losing that one, all of it is just part of the beautiful sand mandala that life becomes. I think we have another comment. Yes, there is a couple. Shrikant says, sometimes I feel very difficult to know the self. Yes, the self is unknowable. And the I who wants to know the self cannot know the self because it is the self. There is only self. So there is no separate me, separate from the self, that can get to know the self and say, I have known it. So it isn't really knowable. But in the absence of thinking, talking, labeling, judging and evaluating the self is all there is. So at the same time it's impossible not to know it, because you don't know it as an object, but you can't deny the aliveness, the presence. It isn't a concept to be grasped in the mind. It isn't something that you should understand how to do, because the moment you stop at talking and thinking and trying, you realize that you exist, and that existence you can call self. So differentiating between me within the self or me outside the self is all too much talking, it's all already too much thinking. In the relaxing and resting in that obviousness, undeniability of existence, nothing is to be found out or known. It is already clear, it's already known. Amarnath says, we were no questions in the past, only questioner was created out of ignorance, which can not be created. And Michael, can I ask about love? The space I am in more and more seems empty, devoid of emotions. Thanks, and a lot of hearts. Michael asking about love being, space being devoid of emotions.
Yeah. Well, what's love? And I say that God is love. If God is love, love must be God. So there it is. It's the godliness of you, or the well-being of you, or the heartfelt joyousness of you.
Mm.
That's love expressing itself. And it's a natural expression if we haven't got the concepts of it. Just be. And that's what they call it, the bliss of being. And it's another way they put Satchit in there. Being, knowing, and loving to be. It's that life. When it's not corrupted or clouded over by concepts, fears, thoughts, anger, and all that expression. What is it? It's being well-being. And Nisargadatta used to put it another way. He described it as having an affectionate awareness of being. Mm. Affection is love. Have an affectionate awareness of being toward yourself and to everything that appears to that self. And that can only come about if you're seeing it, recognizing it as it is. If you're not putting any concepts or labels on it, which we try to describe the indescribable. We separate the inseparable. Leave everything as it is. And Nisargadatta tells you, be still and know that I am is God. And that's love. You love yourself a little bit.
Yeah, there is often that question coming up because there is a subtle expectation for the emotion to be there. As you say, some more empty, devoid of emotion. Seems empty, Michael says. Devoid of emotion. What's emotion? It's the energy in motion. So it's a movement of energy. And that's what actually Nisargadatta says, that pure emptiness is the field of wisdom, of pure knowing, like knowing being. And love is a movement within that open field. So if you see the love as a movement, although Satchitananda is the loving to be, that preference for existence, already ingrained in the emptiness, and it expresses as a movement. Sometimes it may be love, the way, like Bob was describing his experience, his first sort of a light experience when he was in love with the world. For me, those are moments of like unspeakable beauty that completely blows my mind and brings me to tears, and it's very, very frequent through the days. But those are experiences. Those are something that comes and goes. They, of course, very pleasant. They're very joyous, very sweet. But those are. This is not a goal to have a blissful experiences of that peak experience of emotion. The subtlety of that movement can be seen without the extreme peak experiences. And one easy way is, like Bob mentioned, loving to be, the Satchitananda. If it feels like the emptiness and the quietness and the stillness is kind of dry and dead, then perhaps there is a subtle judgment still present. That there is, see how that judgment, it should be different. Come on, where is my pleasure in it? See how that expectation that something's missing is again another way to engage the mind in to continue seeking. Like recently a friend reminded me about some ideas that someone was offering for the people who already know the clarity of existence, that is all there is. He still offered them to seek further. Look, there is a different place. You can have it more, or you can have it more love, or you can have a different location, or just continue seeking, because otherwise, if you don't continue seeking, you know, what's the point? We can't make any money of you, or we can't, you know, it's and of course nobody does it. It's life playing its game. Just you can see through the game that if there is dissatisfaction with recognizing the oneness with all that silent field, and a subtle disappointment that it isn't as pleasant as they promised us to be when they were putting a sales pitch of enlightenment being eternal bliss and ecstasy. Just see through the game. See how those ideas are inviting you to question, doubt, and continue seeking. Because if you look at the nature, look at the cat or dog or bird or moon on the sky, see they are in the natural state. Do they seem like they are in bliss of ecstasy, screaming out of serotonin shock in a moment before they die? No. Natural state is a state in which everything is passing through. The exquisite love and fear and joy and sadness and day and night and warm and cold, all of it is an appearance in that field of infinite potentiality. And all of that, because it loves to be, because it appears to being, it on the very subtle level, it is already loving to be. And you are it, you are all of it. If there is a dryness of silence, that dryness of silence is loving to be. And you are the loving to be of that dryness of silence.
Yeah, as it says in the Hin Sing Ming, the great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. When love and hate are both absent, everything becomes clear and undisguised. Make the smallest distinction, however, and heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. So, as I say, it's dividing things up again. Love is life, life is love, love is God. Everything is, if you like to call it that, love to be. Yes. Pure being, pure knowing. That we divide, seemingly try to divide it and separate it. But as I use the term, no one-ended stick. So, instead of separating them, see that they're the same stick and get into the centre where it's the natural sense of being well is there. Or as the heart of the matter. That's how we express love in a lot of terms. May draw a big heart. And the heart is the core, the centre of the spirit, the symbol. It's not the physical heart. That's where the love is, in your core nature. And realise you know love. You've probably been in love or loved somebody or something. The core. And what's taken us away? Concepts, thoughts, ideas. I love her, I love her, I love her. But the bitch did this to me and I hate her. It can turn like that. See it for what it is. Pure being, pure knowing, pure loving to be. That.
And if there is a dryness of emptiness, love that. If there is a joyousness or beauty, love that. I mean, there's no you to love it or not love it, but recognize that this is that present moment which will never ever be the same again. And this is its content, and it is perfect. And when you see that whether there is a bliss or pleasure in it, in this particular moment, or there isn't, the perfection of this moment, the uniqueness of this moment, the completeness of this moment is already present. And in that loving to be is already here, that in the recognition of that nothing needs to be different or better. And thank you for your question, because it is actually a disturbing question for a lot of people, that am I getting it right? You are it. You can't get it wrong. It is all as it should. It's all unfolding as it should. And again, our cats are quite blissful. They're lying around here, but it isn't really that same type of bliss that you would expect on a sales pitch for enlightenment for humans. And it's enough if the stray cat from the neighborhood comes and their bliss is gone. They spooked. They puffed up. And that's again, did you?
What you just said, I forget it, it's gone. Something you said was struck me.
Okay. Anyway, now Dan is replying to Shrikant, who was saying that that it was so difficult to know the self, and Dan says hide and seek is the game we play. Yeah, that is what it seems to be. It's like you can't find if you didn't lose, and finding is the joy. Realizing the truth is a joy, but it can't be realized if it hasn't been forgotten. Like that beautiful little cats of ours, they don't have any possibility to realize the non-separation, because they have never even imagined to be separate. So we have the joy of hide and seek. Why not?
Well, it's not really not difficult to know the self. The self is knowing right now. But you, the so-called person, is trying to know the self. It'll never ever happen.
No.
Because the person is a fiction.
That's right.
But it's self-knowing, self-seeing, self-tasting, self-touching, self-shining, ever-fresh presence awareness.
Yeah.
Say it all the time. It is the self, the Atman, the one self. And you are that one. It's just we cloud it over with other concepts and think it's something we have to become. And that never happens.
Yeah, it's almost as if you have a sheet of paper and you draw the little human figure on it. And now you imagine that human little figure on the flat sheet of paper can know the one who drew it. It's like different dimension. It's completely different paradigm. It cannot possibly, that little shape on the paper, that little human shape on the paper, it cannot possibly even imagine three-dimensional world, less alone what inhabits it and gave it existence. It is dead, it is flat, it is not even an it. It is how ridiculous the search of imagined me, like this little sketched image on the page of a book, trying to. It's just totally impossible. And Tanya says, I no longer have any questions. Definitely no questioner. Seeking has stopped. For I want to express so much gratitude to Bob and Kat and all that have pointed to the truth. There is a sense of well-being, freedom, and all being allowed is more obvious now. Gorgeous.
Relax into it, can you?
Yes.
Don't struggle, just relax and let it happen.
Yes. And Peter says, upon investigation, the self that I am cannot possibly be sick. As I extend my arm, I notice that it cannot possibly be me. I have COVID, they say, but I cannot possibly be a virus-laden separate body form. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, whatever the body is wearing yellow, does it mean that I'm yellow?
Love you, Peter.
Yes, love you, Peter. Beautiful. And Dan says, yes, it is all space. Can you find a difference between my space and yours? Is there a boundary? Beautiful point. Absolutely. Yeah. You define the boundary by words, but just define them in foreign language and they're gone. Amanda says, why to feel or think? Our I is becoming, feeling and difficulty. If we do not think what we are, leave everything as it is. No one is claiming difficulty as yours. And laughing, smiling faces. Catch the thinker. Can we catch our shadow or dream? Mask of I was never was there. Yeah. Ram says, love playing with the self. And Michael, answering to the question he asked, no difference. There is nothing there. Difference would need a thought or concept. It is just not there. Yes, but can you see how to say that something is not there also need a concept? To see what is not there, you need to define it. Like if you have the definition of love, that love is this and that and the other, then you can say it is not there. If you don't have any definition, you can't say whether it is there or it is not. That's how all-pervasive that habitual languaging is. It is how difficult it is for us to view the world and communicate in the world without using
Words.
Conceptual framework and words. It is just part of the. It's really like you look at the new object, and unless you associate it with something you know from before, you don't recognize it, you can't label it, you can't really properly see it. That's
I say to finish the ending means words. The way is beyond language. There's no yesterday, no tomorrow, no today. Beyond language.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Can't put any labels on. What is it? Just as is. Pure being. They're labels I'm putting on it, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the word is not the real. So the word really can't contaminate it, or can't corrupt it at all, because there's no words that have any substance.
Yeah, Dan is replying to Tanya, who says, I no longer have any questions. Dan says, I have a question. What's for dinner? Yep, those are allowed. Questions arise that they don't belong to anyone. Questions are cute. They just floating through as every other thought floating through the sky. Amarnath, excellent. We are nothing becoming everything, and yet nothing has happened, no becoming at all. Who am I is the dinner, eating without eater, investigation without investigator, drama without players, Amarnath says. And I'm in love with I am lost. And the face is a lot of icons there. And no doubt it, my dear, Ram answered to Amarnath. And Peter answering to the comment he made, that upon investigation, self, that I am, cannot possibly be sick. In this recognition, I am the natural, fundamental, effortless expression of love. Sat Chit Ananda. Absolutely. And Amarnath, reminiscence of reminiscences, nothing there was, is, or will be, no time, no place, no persons. And Vivek says, when faced with real life problems, health issues, personal, etc., I most times am not able to hold on to self-knowledge. Only few times I am successful to apply self-knowledge. It is very well explained by Bob Catt, but it is still difficult for me to not go with the flow.
Oh, who's it, me? It's going with the flow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the essential part of it. The life situations, if you look at the cat, the life situation might force the cat to puff up its fur and run for its life. The life situation may force the cat to relax and purr or eat the food. But there doesn't have to be a story of right or wrong or me doing it, taking credit for any life situation. If you see the way the body is inseparable with the environment, the body is exchanging air with the environment, is exchanging fluids and matter, constantly in communion, in contact, they're really one unit. And now there is a narrative self that is narrating a story that the body is separate from the world. And now, if the world doesn't feel attacking or doesn't go on me and I don't have to defend, then I'm okay, I can listen to the knowledge of self. But the moment the world starts invading my boundaries, I have to respond. This is just a narrative. If you switch off that narrative, or you just ignore that narrative, or you recognize it as just a background noise, like a traffic passing, cars, trams passing in the background, then what is happening? The same is happening with what the cat is doing. The body and environment, they playing, they dancing. If there is a need to go to the toilet, or go and cook dinner, or go to work, or go to talk with taxation office, or whatever it is, that is resolved without need for a story of me being a victim in any of that situation. Life has the way about it to address and resolve issues to their best capacity. Of course, some are not resolved in the optimal way according to somebody else's judgment, but who cares? This is again the narrative. So yes, it is understandable that the life may pull you in for the little ride, and in this there is no possibility or potentiality to release enough attention to stay in that spacious, relaxed, non-recognition of no position being taken. But who has the problem with that? If you investigate the me, so whether the body is engaged or whether the body is relaxing, whether the cat is running for its life or is lying down and purring, nothing's wrong. If there's no self who has the problem with the way life is unfolding, nothing is wrong. And that's the freedom. Because you can't dictate life to never take you for the ride or to never attack you so the body runs. It's just not how it works. You can't command life to always keep summer and the daytime and never have winter or the night or the cold and the hot. Yeah, so just keep looking at it, Vivek, and see that everything unfolds as it should. If your attention is required to address a situation, it will effortlessly flow there. You don't even have to put it there and take it away from there. It's no job for the you, because you is those little drawings, sketch on the paper. It doesn't have any job, you can't do anything. And Amarnath says, love and hatred, words lost their meaning. And Maureen answering to Vivek, yes, Vivek, there is nothing more difficult than the belief in the imagined separate I. Beautifully put, yes, there's nothing more difficult. And Michael says, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Kat and Bob. Thank you, Michael. And Amarnath, why to hold the holder, not the self? Self can not become self. No self is there at all. Why to judge or imprint if you do not think? Investigate its complete absence, seen as presence. And Tanya says, thank you, Bob. There is noticing of relaxation happening naturally. No doer of relaxation, no surrender, no boundaries.
That's it, yeah.
That's it. Beautiful. And British Julia says, morning all, have noticed many times now that there is knowing something was going to happen before it does, like intuition. Mind wants to claim it as I am intuitive. Kind of cute. It is just noticed. That's beautiful. Yeah, that's a nice noticing. And it's how brilliant, what a gorgeous example. Noticing the pattern and noticing the labeling of the pattern and noticing the pattern of claiming that pattern. Brilliant. That's a wonderful example of the play. Amarnath, a beautiful. Thanks, knower and known are notions, just pure knowing, just happening by itself. And Tanya says, thank you for the beautiful meeting, love you all. And Vivek says, thank you, Kat, for beautiful pointer, it was very helpful. And a heart from Ram. And we are nearing to our lunchtime. So Peter says, love you, Bob and Kat. The yellow dress analogy was great. Peter says, love you, Bob and Kat. The yellow dress analogy was great. Yes, a quarantine color, isn't it? Yellow. If you got the virus, you quarantine in yellow, but doesn't mean you are a quarantine or you are in yellow. We are indeed all completely naked and bright in our natural reality, all in perfect communication. If you like, the truth of every heart is stitched on every sleeve. This is freely seen with all the yellow dresses cast aside with happy abandon. Beautiful. That's Peter. Yeah, beautiful. And JB says, thank you guys as always for a great meeting. Get better SAAP. Love to all. Thank you. Yeah, as Peter mentioned, I'm perfectly fine. The fact that the body has all sorts of different symptoms does not steal away my peace. And occasionally I may even get pissed off with the blocked nose, but this is again the pattern with which I'm perfectly happy. So, thanks for nothing, says Gilbert. Hi, Gilbert. And Amanda says, yes?
Don't get too much of it.
Can you get too much of nothing? And mind is nothing but analogy, not the reality. And Maureen says, answering to Vivek, thank you, dear Bob and Kat and all. So perfect. Love and wellness. And Ralph says, thank you as well. So, thank you, everyone. Thank you for being with us. Hopefully next week we're going to have a nice gathering at home again. I noticed that it is rather easier for Bob to talk to the gathering.
Mm.
Thank you, everyone. Love
Thank
to
you.
all.
Yeah.